Check, check, check. 1, 2, check. 1, 2, check. All right, let's see. See if we're getting some audio. Anybody out there, let me know in the chat if you can hear me. See, we got 2 people. Thanks. Check. Can you guys hear me? Yes. Check, check. How you doing, everybody? I don't think my audio is coming from my microphone, is it? You're not on. Why are you not on? Oh, you're on. Mess around with this a little bit. Kevin usually does my audio for me. Let's see. Hear anything? Can't wait. Let's see. Check. Check. 1, 2. How we doing, guys? Can you hear me on the microphone? I don't think so. Other people here. Morning, morning, Momo. John? I am trying to get my audio working. Technical setup at the beginning, like Georgia. Yeah, I know, it's a lot of wind noise. Sorry, guys. I'm working on it. Let's see, let's see. Time for coffee. Let's try this. Let's just try. How about that? I know we have some live people out there, so I appreciate you hanging in there. I know you can barely hear me. I'm working on trying to get my mic set up. It's on, but it's just not, should come through fine, but it's not. Let's see. All right, let's try this. So that's that way, that's that way. Let me rearrange this. Using my new phone, which doesn't have an audio. Headphone jack, I should say. Check, check, check. How about now? It might have been working for a second. It sounded like it was loud from my computer. Come on, come on. Check one, check one, check one, two, check one. Let's see, let's see. Here we are, here we are. Check, 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 check. Yeah, I'm still just getting audio from the camera, so may just have to speak up. We'll see. I appreciate you guys hanging in here with me. You know, we're all hanging out together, trying to get this going. How's it going, everybody? We got Bear CWY, we got Joe Robinson, Gary Clemens, Diana Sikorsky, Whip Trim, Mike Miser. Very windy, I know. Now it's windy. Let's see. Camera mic on, phone mic is on, but all right, how's this? How is it if we're just and we're behind the camera? Let's try this. Definitely needs a windscreen for his mic. Yeah, I know, I know. I hear you. I have a mic too. Maybe it's just this. I'll take this off. How about now? Yeah, not yet. We're getting there. Yeah, I hear you. No. Good setup. I don't know why. I mean, I have a. Let's try this. Try this. Check, 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 check. You know, we're just we're playing with it. We're playing with it. We're getting there. Maybe let's see if this will try. Maybe this is the trick. Check, check, check. 1, 2, check, 1, 2. Keep it near me. Let's try moving some stuff around. Let's see, the road. Yep, the road is on. Let's switch a few things. This is always really tricky, guys. I'm not sure why. Like, it doesn't make any sense. live stream down to the basement. That's okay, we can do that. Yep. Well. That's all right. We're hanging out. It's okay. Let's do this. Let's try to get everybody together. You guys hanging in there with me on the live stream. We're all together. Drag this stuff in. Let's see. I could unplug. Let me unplug you. That's fine. Unplug you. Let's get everybody inside. Ready to go for a ride? You guys are going to be sideways for a minute, but we'll get there. Whoa. All right, moving in. I'm moving in. Trying to keep you all on the tripod without blowing you away. Move you into the dark. Okay, to the basement. I wanted to do it from the smithy, but it's just a little too windy today, unfortunately. Let me turn this down a little bit. Okay. All right. Let's move the axe projects out of the way. Problem that we're still encountering, I think, is the audio. It's still kind of crazy, so we'll figure that out. I think I might just need to turn off the lav. Okay, let's see. Move you guys back a smidge. Straighten up the camera. Everybody's hanging in here with me. Appreciate it. There we go. How's that? How's that? Adjust you a little bit. There. Maybe we'll just do a hangout. All right. Let me unplug this. And we'll unplug this. All right, there we go. How we doing? There. All right. To the basement. All right, let me grab, I'm going to run upstairs real quick, run back out to the smithy and grab the extension cord so I can plug in so we don't die through the live stream. All right. Be right back. I'm right up here. Captivating stuff. Watching the empty goes down, that down, you here. Let's see. Looks like connection's still good, nice and strong. Good. Okay, you know, in the shop sometimes it's a little bit sketchy in the shop. I think we're golden. The weird thing too is that this my lav mic works fine for filming. It's always a little finicky for live stream. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it works fine. Sometimes it's like it'll take 2 or 3 tries, and usually Devin is on the other end, either here with me during the live stream or he's adminning for me, and he will kind of test it beforehand. But he was not able to be here today because they had a power outage at their house and had to go get a bunch of food because they lost a bunch of stuff in their freezer. So what are you gonna do? All right, what's going on, everybody? Let's see, we're still a little crooked. Let me straighten that up. No, that's not too bad. All right, people stay here. We got 33 people hanging out. That's great. Let me straighten you up just a smidge. Make sure we look nice. Whoop. Boop. Oh, there we go. And I guess this is going to be a regular hangout. We're going to work in the smithy a little bit today. Start up the forge, but looks like go with the flow. All right, how we doing, guys? How we doing? So I figured instead of working in the smithy, we'll just hang out. Once we get this lab situation set up with the Rode mics and all, which usually work really well. We've been really happy with the little the Rode mics, but right now it seems like it's always a little finicky. And like I said, with still have a mic issue. Mike, is that a question? Lewis V8817, thank you so much. It's a great smithy project. It was super fun to build the smithy. Once I got the idea in my head to like build something outside, I was super excited. I was like, this is great. Brian Cohn is here. Brian, what's up, man? Thank you. All right. Yeah, it was we were outside and I couldn't get my the lav mic to work, so it's okay. We're just gonna hang out. Like I said, I was gonna light up the forge, maybe make something while we're hanging out, but it was probably gonna be more of a hangout anyway and chat. I can tell you guys what's going on in the shop, what we've been up to. Les Paul, I think the problem is my phone, I believe. Because I think that what it is I have the iPhone 11. It doesn't have an audio connection. Now it shouldn't matter. I have my I have a splitter which works, and this is all still on. So splitter like this, I plug into the lightning port, and then it has an audio and a power adapter spot, but it's not working. This is the first time I've done it, and I was like crossing my fingers, just hoping that it would work well, but what are you gonna do? We're just gonna go with the flow, roll with the punches. All right, Walt Nickerson, appreciate that. Brian Combs, good. Mike Miser, Whip Trip, Derek Morris, not making anything. Joel, yes, Joel, I did. That was awesome. Joel Carlson sent a drawing of a double bit axe, like stuck into a stump. Did I put it up? I think I reposted it. Tattoo on my arm. I have a tattoo of a crow feather, Brian. Yeah, crow feather on my arm. I have a Celtic cross on my back shoulder. I have a compass on my other shoulder. I have a tattoo that my wife and I share together on my bicep. Celtic cross on my back, my brothers and I all have together. So we have, you guys know Devin, because Devin does the filming, and he and I are the art of craftsmanship. Our two older brothers, if you listen to the podcast, we've had on a couple times, Derek and Drew. The four of us all have the same tattoo. And then I have the compass on my shoulder. That's actually a group of my friends from college. Right after college, we decided that we wanted to have something, because we were all about to leave and go different places, and we were really good friends, and we're still really good friends. So we kind of came up with the idea of all of us to get a tattoo together that would remind us of our time. Yeah. And then my wife and I, for our 10-year anniversary, decided we wanted to get a tattoo together to commemorate our 10-year anniversary. And then we didn't get it until our 14th anniversary. This year is our 15th anniversary. We got married in 2005. Actually, this is our, last year. So we got it for our 15th anniversary. This is our 16th. Ooh, all right, let's see. Jamie Plum says, what's my favorite tool that I rarely get to use? I would say a lathe. I really enjoy turning on a lathe, but I have kind of a lathe in pieces that I got from the yard sale. It's an old Craftsman lathe. It didn't have a motor with it, but I have some electric motors that I could probably make work. But I haven't had the chance really to get it all set up. It needs some love and it needs some parts and stuff. So once I do that, I really like turning on a lathe. I think it's really fun. I did a wand for my daughter. A good friend of mine, Brian, has a small kind of tabletop lathe, and so he's like turned some pens and stuff. And I turned a pen. I think it might have been like our second video ever, where I made a pen box for my wife's grandfather for a Christmas present, and I made him a pen and the pen box to go with it. And that's, I think, is like our second video. If you look back, the first video was making the knife from a file. But yeah, I really like turning wood on a lathe, and I don't have an accessible lathe. So, Don Lewis from Philadelphia checking in. How are you, the family? We're doing good. Thank you very much. You fucking Bill already pointers on how to make forge. He wants to make his own axes. Perfect collaboration. Oh, that's a good idea. Bucket and I have kind of started chatting a little bit back and forth, kind of just briefly. We reached out to him last summer, fall, to see if he wanted to be on the podcast, and he was interested and he wanted to listen to the podcast, and then we kind of like lost touch. So we're trying to get him on the podcast. I was watching one of his live streams recently, and he and I were chatting about wood, giving him some pointers on one of his handles. He said he did like a wooden dowel through the handle, and he was asking what I thought of the hole, which I said a wooden dowel should be great. But that's a good idea. Yeah, that's making his own axes. That's more than just the forge. I mean, that can be done. I guess if he's doing like if he wants to do folded axes, like using old farriers, rasps, and stuff, that could work. Just do a folded axe. How's the audio? I know I'm just using my phone audio. It should be fine. Aurelio Costa Jr. from Brazil. Good to see you. Audio. Yeah, it's not great. It's a little echoey, but that's okay. Subscriber Kevin Eggington, nice to have you. Thank you.
I think he's doing his live stream still, so I'm not
So yeah, we'll move you guys in just a little bit, see if we can get a little bit better audio. Let's see. Let me tilt you down. There we go. Building the walls. All right, there we go. That's a little closer. Make sure I'm in focus. Planning on building walls. Lewis, at this point, I am not, but we'll see. I do want to try to do something. Move over a little bit. There we go. We'll see. How, I still need to figure out like what. I gotta run the forge a bit and see if it's too windy out there. If it is, then I'll maybe I'll build up something at least on this west facing side, because we have a predominant west wind coming from the pond area, the ponds and stuff on the next property. So I might need to put up some type of wall screen on this edge, but that's also the problem with the wind. So if I put up something like solid, then that's going to create a lot of wind. We did have what was it? We had like 40 to 50 mile an hour winds the other night, with gusts of like up to 60 in here and in Baltimore, and the smithy's still there, held up really well. Nothing blew off. There were some branches up on the roof, but all the metal held on really well, and everything stayed good, and all the tools and everything, obviously. I am the one thing I do need to do, which I'm definitely going to do, is make covers for both of the anvils, and also for the forge and stuff. So that way I can just put like canvas covers over everything and strap it, tighten it down so it stays there, so I don't have to worry about kind of general water and stuff blowing in, because it does kind of, when the wind does blow, it does get some moisture in there. But I can tell you that my basement is super damp, just in general, because it is a basement, so I'd say 3/4 of the way buried. And so it's pretty damp down here, so everything that's down here gets rusty. So I actually have a feeling that like the anvils and all the hammers and stuff outside are going to be less rusty, so we'll see. All right, let's see what we got. B Cone, how's the art of video guy? The art of camera guy, Devin, he's doing well. Again, he's not with me today. He'll usually watch, and he'll be on he'll kind of be watching, and he'll be admin on the page, but he's busy today. He's got his daughter's little girl on there to go run some stuff around, get some stuff, so he's not here. Let's see. Skeeter Lewis, watching from Essex, England. Good to see you. Thank you so much, Skeeter. I appreciate it. Jamie Plum says audio is a bit low. I know, it is what it is. We're just hanging out. You actually get a little echo, like you're hanging out here in the shop with me, and not such amazing audio like we normally have, which unfortunately is a point for us, is a pretty important thing. We really do like to have good audio, and that makes videos that much better, but we're going to do what we're going to do. Andrew South, I'm going to make some scrapers for my lathe work. What steel should I use, and will it need tempering? Yes, so 54 Les Paul. If you're going to make scrapers, if you're going to do any type of, any type of steel that's needed to be hardened, you can use, like, tool steel obviously is like W2, 01. I mean, you could use pretty much any steel, I guess, any that's hardenable, and yeah, you're going to want to temper it. 1084, 1095, depending on what your setup is. 1084 is a really good knife steel because it has a lot of tolerance when it's heat treated, so you don't have to be super careful. You can easily heat treat it from a forge if you get up to that kind of cherry red color and quench it in oil. Like I use canola oil. That works really well. So my suggestion is if you can get some like round stock, if you're doing scrapers, so you want to have like kind of a round stock and then cut an angle on it. Depending on what you want your angle to be. It doesn't seem like that would be a super hard tool to make, I wouldn't think. Yeah. If you're thinking like rounded, that might be a little trickier, but not too bad. But yeah, so we'll need tempering because tempering brings the hardness down. If you leave steel quench hard, it's going to be really super hard, and then that is when you'll get the edge chipping, or like with a knife, you can get you can get the whole blade to just snap because it's super brittle. It's so hard, it's brittle. So tempering brings that hardness down some, but not so far down. Like you quench something and it's going to be really hard. It's going to be up in the 70s and 80s in the hardness scale, Rockwell. But as you bring it down, you temper it. You want to bring it down to between 50s and 60s and kind of low 60s. So you get that like nice hard, but not so brittle. You're kind of you're softening the steel somewhat, so it's tougher, a little bit springier. Flat scrapers, okay, flat scrapers. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like that'd be a super hard thing to make. You just put your angle on and. Hello from Sweden. Hello, Magnus. How's it going? Kjelsen. Yelson? Like with a Y pronunciation? Let's see. What's the next project? Sunday, no beers. Actually, Don, I was going to have a beer. And I would have had it ready, but I was getting everything ready, and then we had to move down to the shop, and I didn't grab any beers from the kitchen. So I might have to like run and leave you guys down here in the glory of the shop by yourselves for a minute. We'll see. See how I feel. I don't have a ton of time though. Let's see. Becone? Or no, let's see. Don Lewis asks, what's the next project? So Don, we're actually working on a video that we're filming right now is restoring and making a small hatchet for my daughter. This is a plum scout hatchet, national pattern. Pretty nice. This is a nice little head. Let's see how heavy it is. I use this. I had this scale that I got like for my wife years ago. We had it in the kitchen. It's just like an analog scale, and I have it down in the shop. And I used it at one point, and someone was like, "Nice grandma scale." Let's see. This is 1 pound exactly. Maybe a hair over, like 1 pound, 1 ounce. a little head. So we're working on this. I've chamfered the end, which you should be able to see in that light. So I cleaned up the pole, did a nice chamfer all the way around, and leaving pretty much everything else the way it is now. It's not sharpened yet, but this is going to go on an Osage orange handle. This is going to be 18 inches. Right now I think it's about 21 or 22, but so this one's 21. It will be a little bit shorter than this. It'll have this head. So it'll be a nice little hatchet. That's for my daughter, who's a Girl Scout. All right, Tavis Field says, what's your favorite IPA? My favorite IPA currently is the Tropicana IPA from Heavy Seas Brewery. I love the Tropicana. It's so good. It's got just that right amount of like citrus and that flavor added to it. It's so good. But I like a lot of IPAs. So, all right, Don, thanks so much, man, hanging out. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chat. It means a lot. I appreciate it. Not necessary, but I appreciate it. That's all I can say. Thank you. But yeah, favorite. I like lots of different IPAs. I like IPAs in general. I like the 60-minute from Dogfish Head. I like the hazy little thing, which is a hazy IPA from Sierra Nevada. That's really good. Trying to think ones that we get more often. Like I said, I like the Canon, like loose Canon, double Canon, all the Canon IPAs from Heavy Seas. Those are really good. Alaska Mike, what's going on, Mike? Good morning. What time is it over there? 11, 8, 7, 10, 9, 8, 7, 7:30? 7:30 on the West Coast up in Alaska. Is it, or 6:30? Early? Early. Try not to do this too early, but also didn't want to go too late either. Stuff to do today. Alaska Mike. Let's see. Wait, Nickerson. What was your favorite knife you made? The favorite knife that I made, I made the little Puko recently with the Osage orange handle and antler, and it's a Sloyd knife, so it has that kind of rhombic shape. Small knife, it's like 7 inches in total, 2 7/8 inch blade, and a 4 1/8 inch handle, so it's just 7 inches. It's real small, real light, rat tail tang peened over at the end. It's awesome. It's really cool. Actually, I haven't even sharpened yet, but I just love it so much. Here's a little chunk of Osage from the end with the tang hole. That was what I cut off before I peened it. Still sitting here on the desk on the workshop bench. I really like that one, but I really like. I've worn and used the Journey knife a lot, and I really like that design. I wanted something that was small enough to be like a good EDC, and I could wear around without having like a big belt, sheath hanging off, and that's worked out really well. Small enough that if I just put my shirt over it, there's only 3 inches of sheath hanging out, 3 or 4 inches of sheath hanging out, which then it doesn't feel like you're walking around with a big knife on your hip. So I like that one. I like it's like the ones I made one for my nephew, which I really like. That was a hidden tang. I'm excited to work on and make a stacked leather handle knife for a buddy of mine in a video coming up. So we're going to do another Sloyd knife, another small carving knife with a rhombic design. So it's going to has a grind, so your bevels go from the middle of, or 2/3 up on the blade down to the edge, but then it also tapers back. So instead of being like flat and then a taper and flat on the spine, it actually tapers toward the spine and tapers toward the edge of the blade. So it's really fun. It's a beautiful look. And then cutting out the bolster, you got to cut the bolster to meet that shape and fit in. So it's challenging and fun at the same time, and it looks super cool. So I'm excited. I'll be doing that too. Let's see. 7:30, 1 hour behind Pacific start. Okay, that's not too bad. 7:30 is okay. It's a little early, but I appreciate it. Plumax's Jamie Plum. Plumax's sought after in the U.S. Surprised to find one. Bought it, and everyone thought I'd stamp my name into it. That's awesome. They are. Plumax's, I think, are. Hold on one second. I'm coming around. I realize I'm kind of like looking up at the camera, so I'm going to bring this down a little bit while I'm talking. Plum is a company that I think is sought after as much as Kelly and Collins in the U.S. You know, like any axe, it depends on the style because there's a bunch. You know, there's a lot of basic plums as well, and then there's some. There we go. How was up in here? Tighten that. Tighten this. I'm just bringing you down slowly on the tripod. There we go. I have a couple plums. I have a couple plum hammers, and then I have this little. This is a genuine plum. The national pattern. This is a pretty sought after pattern. The national pattern and the Scout hatchet. This is one that you know. If I wanted to sell it, I could probably sell it for, I don't know, this size. Obviously, it's going to depend on the buyer. If you have someone who's looking specifically for this for part of their collection, it is a piece that's kind of sought after because it has the Boy Scout logo on one side and the plum logo on the other side, genuine plum. So the Scout hatchets are more, obviously, a little bit more rare than just a regular plum hatchet. And the national pattern like that with the Scout hatchet is pretty cool. So I found this one, you know, at a yard sale or something. Like all of them. All of my axes have been found in the wild. I mean, I have a couple that have been given to me, but they all have been what we call as found in the wild. So found, you know, I bought at places or got from people or, you know, antique stores, things like that. I haven't bought any axes online just because I think for me it's like the treasure hunt. You know, it's the hunt is what's exciting. A spot on the camera. That's weird. What do we got on there? Looks like there's a spot on the camera. Maybe that's just my screen. Let's see. It's like I have a funny blue belly button. Maybe it's just a little light. Doesn't look like there's anything on the camera. Always a little technical. That's okay. Oh, there we go. Looks like it's gone. We'll see. All right. About to head out. Brian Cohn, thank you so much, man. I'm all caught on the Makery Network. Dang. Brian, my suggestion, one of the other, I think almost my favorite maker podcast is Making It with Jimmy DiResta, Bob Claggett, and Dave Picciuto. So if you haven't listened to the Making It podcast, that's an awesome podcast. Let's see, I also like Axe and Iron podcast, Roy Scott and Chris Cash. That's fun. I don't listen to a ton of podcasts just because I'm not just working in the shop most of the day, but I always catch Knife Talk and Making It. I listen to almost all of Brian House Work For It podcast. And then I started listening more recently to, I'm a sailor, so I listen to a really awesome podcast called On the Wind. It's just a sailing podcast. Usually it's interviews with sailors and professional sailors and boat makers and anything to do with sailing. There's a bunch that, a good person to ask would be Ben Butler from the Work For It podcast. I feel like he listens to a lot of podcasts. A lot of good ones, though. And, yes. Recommendation for podcasts. Let's see. Seco SNZG. You asked about this. This is a Citizen Eco Drive. Ever tried Elvis juice from Brewdog? I haven't tried Elvis juice. I think I definitely have had beer from Brewdog, but not often. It's not one that I can find that easily here in Baltimore and Maryland. Check out First Sip Brew Box. Okay. Let IPA check out First Sip Brew Box. I'll have to check that out. First Sip. Les Paul says, take care. Time to get to my shop. Appreciate the info. Keep it the good content. Awesome. Thank you, Les Paul. Appreciate you hanging out, buddy. Walt Nickerson. Let's see. Penticton, BC, Canada. Oh, nice, Walt. Nice to have you here, man. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Instagram, and if you haven't heard our podcast, you can check that out. I love doing the podcast. Let me know, guys, if you're here, if you've listened to the podcast. Um, the podcast is awesome because it's a chance for Devin and I just to chat about stuff, and you get like all this behind the scenes stuff. So you hear us talking about all these projects we're working on. We'll sometimes we'll talk about future projects. Sometimes we won't. Obviously, we don't. Over the years, I've become less like less I guess hidden with the information, because we used to put just stuff up on Instagram. I do these little like sneak peek pictures of stuff before I put out a video, thinking that like I didn't want to give away the final product for the video before the video came out. And I still usually do that. I won't take a picture of like the final product, or I won't post it to Instagram until we put the images out. But I'll do like before we put the video out. But I'll do pictures of progress and stuff, because I think it's just fun for people to like see what's coming along and build up some anticipation, and they kind of know what to expect, which I think building that anticipation through Instagram and stuff helps to get people excited about the video coming up. So I've been doing that. But yeah, if you guys listen to the podcast, you get a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So that's just the Art of Craftsmanship podcast, and you can hear that. Devin and I put it out every Friday morning at 4 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, it's been fun. Let's see. Looking for a bushcraft knife. Awesome. Walt, well, I really appreciate you being here. Stefan Havid Hansen, Fake Empire Brewing is also instant classic. Okay, check that out too. And Alaska Mike, beer fridge is full of Alaskan amber. And rarely you can find a Baltic porter. Yum. All right, let's see. So yeah, I'm working on again, like I said, the Osage Orange handle right now. That's the next project. I just started yesterday, just kind of cleaning up a True Temper Kelly Works Red Warrior Connecticut pattern axe. This is one I got from a guy a couple years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This and my oh yeah, she's sharp. And my Collins Legitimus Connecticut pattern as well. I got them both. So started working, cleaning this up, and I kind of cleaned it up and did some pole work on it a couple years ago. It was on a handle, which I actually took off, and I used on what I call my speed splitter, which was an old Kelly Perfect that was all damaged. So I kind of trimmed it down, modded it to be a small kind of splitting wedge. So that was pretty cool. Let's see, we have everybody still here. That's funny, that dot is still there, that blue dot. I wonder what that is. I don't know. All right, how we doing, guys? We got I'm still hanging out. Danish. Reason for the radio. Yeah, I figured that. To your woodworker, getting into some smithing, cool. Build a workshop from scratch. Any advice? I would say put enough power to your shop to make sure you can do whatever you need to do for the bigger machines. If you plan on, I mean, even so, here in the States, it's either 110 or 220. So you get like a certain voltage. Everything in my shop is run off of 110. But there are some machines that I would like to get that run 220 volts. And so having that extra power would be nice. And I've thought about that. My buddy Sean and I from Crafting a Life I Want, he's suggested a few times he could help me put in 220 down here if I want to, because he knows electric much better than I do, much more comfortable with it. So I may do that at some point. I want to get a heat treat oven, and I'd like to get the 220 volt one because it heats up quicker, speeds up a little bit quicker. So that would be my suggestion. Make sure you do for whatever you want for power. Just make sure you have, I would say, set up for the highest amount of common power that you can put. Now, obviously, in shops, in the States, we have what's called 3-phase, so it's like it's a bigger machine, it takes a lot more power, and you can get converters that run off of different voltage to run a 3-phase converter. But if you need something that's higher powered like that, that's kind of specialty. But whatever your kind of common level of electric, I would say do what you can do. 220 on regular, 400 on stuff like. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I would say just make sure you do. If you can set up your shop for 400, set it up for 400. Both, so you can kind of do both things. Then you don't have to worry about it later. It's better to do it if you're building it from scratch. Do it early. I would for me in a shop like this, I love having this table right in the middle. I love having a main work table that's in the middle, and then stuff around it, because then I can especially here where I have my bench behind me and a work table in front of me. This is a great area to work. I have my chop saw, I have my vise, I have vices on the bench in front of me and at the end of the bench in front of me. The one thing I'd like to have is, if I could have made this, what I use it as occasionally is an outfeed table. So I have my table saw, which is relatively small. I'll put it at the end of the bench, and I can use this as an outfeed table. So that would be ideal if you're going to get a cabinet table saw, if you have that, which is, I think for a shop, my top tools for cutting, at least for wood, would be bandsaw, chop saw, table saw. Now you can do a lot of stuff with a circular saw, with a jigsaw, so you can do all that stuff. But I have a bandsaw that's made a huge difference here in the shop. The chop saw I use all the time. That's why it takes up real estate on my bench. The drill press is great to have. This one I'm actually need to build a stand for. That's right behind me. Yeah, a good vise. You have to have a good vise, maybe a couple good vices. I like having the wood vices on this bench, and then having my machinist vise over on the other bench. But yeah, I have my grinder station set up over here, and that's specifically for wood shaping, like a 1x30, 3x46, or 3x36, 4x36. Or obviously 2x72 if you can get a 2x72 grinder. It makes just a world of difference in any type of stock removal, any type of wood or metal or plastic or anything. Having a good sander, grinder that you can, that's one of those key things. Alaska Mike says you'll never have enough space. It's true. Yes. Yeah, Stefan, it's what's called miter saw. Chop. So I guess technically chop saw would be just straight chop. This is a miter chop saw, so it can cut angles as well as it can tilt. This is not a great one, but this is actually one I got from my father-in-law. He gave to me a bunch of years ago, and it's worked great. The only thing is, if I could have a sliding miter saw, one that could cut deeper, maybe up to 12 inches or so. This one cuts about 5 inches, and you can kind of get 6 inches if you tip the wood up, which works for the majority of, I would say 90% of my projects. But having something that can slide and cut out to a longer distance makes a huge difference. All right, Jamie, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Mike Miser, appreciate it too, man. Thanks for hanging out. Probably be on here probably another 20 minutes, half an hour. I don't want to go too long, because then when I upload it to YouTube, it's forever and a day long, but that's fine. It's just a hangout. Michael Gray, let's see. Morning, Mike. Georgia, all right, nice. A sheath for a drop point camp knife I recently acquired. Awesome. Yeah, if you're doing a lot of things, man, I want to make, I need to make a press so I can do some kydex, because I do want to try to do kydex sheaths. I like the tradition, and I like the look of leather sheaths better than kydex, but some knives just would be better with kydex. Anything that, I don't know, if you need something that's slim or low profile, kydex works really well. So I'm looking to do that. But yeah, if you're gonna making a sheath for a drop point camp knife, that's great. Let's see. Planning on drawing out the sheath. What the checklist is you suggest? It was for leather working. Let's see. Tips. So Michael Gray is asking about additional tips for leather working that might not have made it into my videos. Other than where you buy your materials, I like to actually go and pick out leather. There's a Tandy leather factory relatively near me, about a half an hour away. So I always go there to get my leather. The reason why is because I can buy cheaper cuts of leather because I can look at them and I can pick out what parts look good or like which sides. You know, if I'm picking out just smaller sides, and with leather sheaths, you don't need a ton of material, so it's not like I have to get big sheets of it. Now obviously, I could pay much more and get really quality stuff from Weaver and Tandy Online and lots of other places. You can get really good quality leather. But being able to see the leather, I can choose the better pieces that have good cuts that are like even thickness and clear of any type of like just areas that have bends in them or wrinkles, things like that. But I actually like that sometimes too. I like having those things that have some texture or some weird like lump or something because it just adds some character to the sheaths. So, oh yeah, Stefan, I can talk to you about that too. So if you have a leather working place near you, I would say go check out the leather and pick out the cheaper cuts of leather because you can look through them and find a good one. Other leather tips. I would say a good tip is to oversize your cuts when you're doing a folded sheath. And I say that, let's see if I have a couple here. I have a bunch that I have cut too small for one reason or another, and they end up being scraps because they just didn't fit very well. I have two here. This one actually is not. Where's my? This is a knife I made quite a while ago. This is like the first kind of like big knife I made out of. It was like this. It's crazy looking. Out of some black walnut and white liners, brass pins. This sheath I made for this, and this actually still might work. I sort of finished it. Just kind of like the look of the sheath, but it's like a gigantic sheath. But I think these were cut a little too small, just because I didn't leave enough room. So when I was cutting it, I cut it fairly narrow, and then by the time I got it ready to go, it just like was too tight for the knife. So cut it just a little wide. Give yourself that extra when you're tracing around your blade. Go an inch maybe, or go test it a couple times before you do those final cuts, so that way you're not wasting leather. Let's see. Okay, so Stefan asks how I got started in content creation. So a couple years ago, maybe 2016, my brother Devin, who he and I do the art of craftsmanship together, he reached out. We were like, let's see. So I moved back to Baltimore in 2011. Devin and I lived together. He lived with my wife and daughter and I from like 2011 to 2013. And then I moved into this location in 2014, I think, and then set up the shop here in my basement and started working on stuff. I was super excited to have the shop, as you can imagine. If you're any type of maker, having a space that's already like dedicated. This desk, this bench behind me was already here. That was the only thing that was here in the shop. Other than I think some of these wooden shelves were here, but they were kind of in random places, so I kind of cut them up and cut them down and moved them around. I put up obviously all the tool storage and stuff, and all the shelf behind me, but had this space, and I was constantly making stuff down here, showing pictures on Instagram and Facebook and such, and so on and so forth. And I think in 2016, Devin and I started talking about. It was his idea. He said, "Hey, you're always making stuff in your shop," and he was saying that he wanted to get his kind of chops back. If you don't know that expression, it just means like he had kind of lost some of his skills for doing video and like he went to film school in New York, and he wanted to be like using the editing equipment and keep making things and making videos, because he wasn't doing that anymore as much. And so he just came to me and was like, "Hey, you're always making stuff, and I want to kind of start filming stuff, and why don't we make a YouTube channel? Let's just film it, and we'll hang out in the shop together. And he said, you make it, I'll film it and edit it, and we'll put it up, and we'll see where it goes. Let's have fun. And our main kind of idea was that there is a lot of mediocre content as far as production quality goes that's on YouTube, and those people are still getting tons of views and potentially making money, even with mediocre quality. And that's because that's this avenue of social media, right? It's like people understand that you're just maybe filming yourself. You sit on a tripod, you're filming yourself, you're showing some people, and people will search it. You put the right tags on. If someone wants to learn something, they're not really going to care all that much about the quality as long as they're seeing something that they want to know. So there was that avenue of creating better quality videos that, you know, were a little bit more cinematic. We were trying to do something a little different. So we thought, like, we don't necessarily want to do parts. We want to do one whole video. You know, we don't want part 1, part 2, part 3, part, 20 of a build series. So the thing about that is, like, by not doing a series, not doing parts, you sacrifice consistency. So you have to be a little bit more, I would say one of the main things about YouTube is being consistent, putting out videos often. So if you're not putting out videos often, then people forget about you and will stop watching. So as long as you be consistent, even if it's not, you don't have to be once a week. In the beginning, it's good if you can do a lot and really consistent, stay steady for, do once a week, once every 2 weeks for a while. If you can get that consistently, then you'll build an audience. So we didn't want to do parts, and if you could do if you're okay with doing parts, then you can put up your work a little bit more consistently, right? You hang out in the shop for a day, work on whatever you work on, make it as far as you're going to make it, edit that video and put it out, right? And then come back to the shop the next day and keep doing those part videos. You can be more consistent with that. So that was one of the things that we wanted to do differently, and I think that was the thing about us creating this channel, is that we were just like, well, what can we do that's a little bit different? Because we were able to do it, because there's two of us working together. And I've been making things and had this kind of teacher mentality for quite a while. So I knew I wanted to, that I could talk and think about, what things are important to say and what things can be glossed over because it's self-explanatory. So those were some of the things that we were thinking about doing. Like, we wanted to do single part videos. You build everything in one video. They're going to be a little longer, but I think, some people like it, some people don't. I think, the channel has grown well enough that it shows that people are interested in that type of thing at some point. The other thing is, one part videos, consistency, putting out a little bit better quality. We had, not like we have amazing cameras, we had just our standard Nikon 3400, I think. Digital camera, we did all the filming in for the first couple years until this year we got our new camera, which is, I don't remember off the top of my head because Devin's the camera guy. But yeah, so we were kind of, doing a few things differently and just starting to build up. But really, the idea of starting content creation was just because I was already making stuff in the shop, and Devin wanted to film some stuff and edit some more and kind of get back in the game of editing and making things. And so we just combined our two loves and put it together and started working in the shop, and it's worked out really well. It's really fun and it's exciting, and we're just short of 125,000 subscribers now, which is pretty astounding. And we just thank everybody so much for being here and supporting us, and all of our patrons, and just everyone who's here. It's been a blast, and we can't thank you guys enough. So that's how I got it. The exact same process. Yeah, no. You got to find a camera guy, right? That's what we did on our podcast. We had Justin Dietrich, and he's a woodworker, and he's got a YouTube channel and Instagram. He has he's a teacher and does really awesome timber framing and stuff. And he'll actually be presenting at the Maker Camp this year as well. But we had him on, and that was a joke during the podcast that everyone needs a Devin, right? Because having a Devin there, having a camera guy there, and the great thing also about Devin and I is that obviously I'm coming up with all the ideas and I have most of the making skills, but Devin looks at it in a different perspective, and often when we're building, he'll make suggestions. Oh, what about this? Or what if you try it this way? Or oh, you could just do this. Or like something that I might gloss over because I'm used to doing it one way. He'll notice something that might be a little different. It could work better or work differently, and he'll suggest it. So it's really nice having someone else in the shop who's a maker mind person as well, and that I'm not just relying on him to be just the cameraman. That we're like working together as a pair doing these things and putting together this content. And so we'll do the same thing. Like we'll talk about shots. We'll talk about so we work. We he'll help me on the builds. Well, I'll say it's like 95.5%, and then I'll help him on the camera angles and composing the video 95.5%. Right? I'll make some suggestions and we'll do stuff from the time. But it is nice having someone who knows what they're doing really well. Tom from Denmark, good to see you here. Thank you so much. Ben Olson. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that, man. What is a good draw knife for a beginner that won't break the bank? I would say any vintage draw knife. You can usually find a vintage draw knife for relatively inexpensive. I'll show you, I had 2 tools that I bought, and I think I paid $25 in total for them. This is my first draw knife that I got, and draw knife and spoke shave. I got these on eBay. This is a Carpenter, spelled with a K. Nice straight one. This is, what does it say? United Edge Toolworks. So this is a vintage straight draw knife. I think I have, let me see, 38 inches. I got this and my Stanley number 53 spoke shave. I got these both on eBay, I think for a total of $25. So you can look at eBay, look at yard sales. I have a bunch of draw knives now. I have 3 more right back here. I've gotten more and given some away as well. But I think when you just start keeping your eye out for them, I find them a lot of yard sales and vintage stores and stuff. But they're not that expensive. Even a brand new draw knife from a company that you like, if you find new draw knives, they're still not, if you're going to order from like Veritas or Lee Valley or something, or you might pay a little bit more, but there are draw knives that you can get that are not that expensive. So that's one of those tools that's actually not that expensive. There's one too. I love draw knives. I got a couple more recently. That's the other thing is if you there's something you like and you express interest in it, and people know you like it, they'll start coming to you. They're like, hey, you like this type of thing, right? Here, how about you have these? Oh, cool. Awesome, Stefan. I appreciate that, man. Stefan says I taught him how to make knife sheaths. It's great. I forget where I learned sheath making. Obviously it was online. I didn't learn, almost everything I've learned how to do is pretty much from finding images. A lot of times I'll just look up images because, with kind of a maker mindset, I can reverse engineer a lot of things. If I can see it. Then obviously as I grow my skills and build additional skills, then the more skills you grow, the more easy it is to look at something and think, okay, I can see how that's made. The more you do it. So I think I probably just saw a sheath that was like a fold over sheath like these. Kind of understood. At first the first ones I made just had the belt loop was stitched on the back. I say that I come up with this idea on my own, but like I wanted to do one that was all part of one piece, so you didn't have to like stitch it on, so you didn't have to have double stitches in the back. So I ended up kind of coming up on my own with this design. Not like I was the first person to ever do it, but I kind of was like, oh, what if I just have it come off and then it can fold backwards. I think I drew a picture or two in my sketchbook at the time. This may have been, with sometime 10 years ago or so. But all right, Walt, thank you so much for hanging out. trap shooting on that part of the local club. Awesome. Nice. I've been trap shooting a couple times. It's fun. One more thing I want to. What do we got? We have an hour. How much time are we? How much time we got in here? We've been alive for a while. That's okay. 65 minutes. This is a fun modded axe head that I made a bunch of years ago, and I think I definitely want to do one of these. I want to do one of these for a video. So what I did for this, I took a normal half hatchet, like one of these. Let's see, we grab one that looks about right. This will be fine. So, yeah, here, how about this one? There you go. Yeah, so half hatchet, right? That's what this is. This one looks like a no name. Oh, this one actually might be a good one to do. I've cleaned this one up recently, so maybe I'll do it with this one. Took a half hatchet like this. Obviously, I modded the bottom, right? So you can see it over top of this one. I trimmed the bottom off the nail puller to get that kind of swoop, and I like that because it gives you the ability to choke up, and I just like to look at it this way better. And then I trimmed off the majority of the hammer. So I wanted to put a spike on the back because what this is a what I call it a hatcheroon, right? So a picaroon would be basically that on an axe handle, right? You have that on an axe handle, and it gives you the ability to like reach out and poke wood and pick it up and move it around. So it's kind of like moving firewood around is what a picaroon is. This one has a little hatchet head on it, so it's a hatcheroon, right? So it's hatchet on one side and a pick on the other side. I actually have a handle here that's a vintage handle that got broken and I cut off. I'm thinking about putting that on that. Maybe even that long. I know it's really long for a hatchet, but for a picaroon, you want to be able to have it long so you can kind of reach out and move stuff around. So I used to have this on a handle, and it came loose, and then I wanted to use the handle for something else, so I switched it out. But that I'm excited to do this because this was fun. Like I made this a bunch of years ago, really before I knew very much at all about smithing, about blacksmithing. I mean, I had my little forge. I think I did this in my bucket forge. If you guys watch the channel, you know I worked in my bucket forge for quite a while. Heated the end up. Like I said, I cut off the majority of the hammer pole because it didn't need a ton. Heated up and then drew this spike out. Got the spike where I wanted it, and then had to do a full heat treat on the entire blade. So I had to heat it back up and quench it. I think I did a differential quench. So I heated and quenched the blade, and then I heated and quenched about half of the pole. I mean, half of the spike on the back, and then did a full temper cycle on the rest of it. So that way, the middle part, the eye was still soft, which is you'll find in most axes the eye is a little softer than the bit because you want that to be able to stretch if it needs to. You want it to shatter. Let's see who we got. Alaska Mike. Scandinavians love crafting with wood and steel. Must be a generic memory. My family is originally from Denmark too, LOL. Scandinavians, they do. There's something beautiful about it. Yeah, it's up in that cold weather. They want to get those forge cooking. Those forges. How do you decide how long to make your handles? Does the weight of the head come into account? Ben Olson, it does. It does, Ben. What I do, it's the weight of the head, but it's also the size of the head. So some of it's aesthetic. Like I want it to look a certain way. Like this is a small. This is actually an American. What's this called? This is like American axe or Amera axe. This is a little head that has an Indian logo on it, and it's from when a bunch of the American axe companies combined to make one big company. So like Kelly, Plum, Collins, True Temper, all those are the same company, but they all kind of combined together in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and made one like giant company, and then they realized it didn't work great, so they split back apart. But this is from then. This is kind of a small head. It's got some weight to it. But you know, it fits appropriately, so it's almost aesthetic. Like it needs to look right. But it also, you also need to have like a certain comfort level on what you like for chopping wood. So if you're like if you were using a racing axe, so say you're like professional timber sports, right? Those racing axes they have these gigantic heads, and they have a handle that's long enough that they can like chop underneath, you know, when they're doing a standing chop. I have 6 or 7 or 8 heads that are on full length handles, 36 inches. Then I have full size heads that are on 30-inch handles. I recently made the Kelly wood slasher. I think that one's on like a 29-inch handle. So, you know, you can do shorter handles if your comfort level, depending on what you're doing. Like if you're doing a lot of felling, right? So you're like swinging on a standing tree. Well, that just depends on how you want to swing, right? You can actually swing a little bit better. You're not worried about, let's say, over swinging and hitting the ground. So if you have a shorter axe and you're going to swing at the ground, if you miss with a shorter axe, and then because it's short, it's not going to hit the ground. It's going to swing back toward your legs. So you got to be careful about that. So some of the comfort level, like this is a 30-inch handle. This is what I was going to use. This one, this is a house handle. I was going to use this for the Red Warrior, but the eye is too small. The Red Warrior has a really fat eye, has a wide eye, and the shoulders here aren't wide enough. So I might have to make a custom handle for that. This is a house handle. I really like house. They're cheap and they're great handles. I'm really happy with them. So yeah. So it kind of depends. It depends on the purpose. You know, if it's a felling axe, you need to be able to swing it and hit a tree where you want that. If you're really tall, you might want a little bit longer handle. If you're short, you want a shorter handle. Your comfort level, aesthetically what it looks like, the weight of the head. You know, if you have a light head, you probably want a shorter handle. Again, like I said, with this one, with this little hatcheroon, you know, if I were going to put this on a handle that looks right, it might be like that, right? That might be where I might want it for aesthetic, you know, an aesthetic look. And that's like 19 inches, right? 18 or 19 inches. That seems about the right size handle for that head. But because this has the pick and I want to be able to use it as to like reach out and poke stuff and pull it back toward me, I'm going to put it on a longer handle, which looks a little silly for that size head. But when you're thinking about it as a tool to pick up stuff, then it's a purpose-built handle. Depends. All right, guys. Well, we've been going for almost an hour and 15 minutes. I think I'm going to call it here in just a few minutes. If anybody has any other questions before we go, I appreciate everyone for hanging out. It's been a blast. Always fun. See if we can get that microphone working so we can actually shoot from the smithy next time, maybe forge something. But otherwise, getting ready to do some more stuff today outside. Hello, wife.
Hi.
My wife just came downstairs. Want to come say hi? Hi.
Hi.
Looking very beautiful.
Thank you.
We're going to be going out with some friends later for a date afternoon, so get ready. Let's see. A lot of your answers and advice. No problem, Stefan. I appreciate it. Moving forward, yeah, the next video will be the Osage. Let's see. Finished? Yeah. It'll probably be the Osage handle and the little plum axe for my daughter. Ben, always a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you to those of you who super chatted. That was really awesome. And again, not necessary, but I always appreciate it. Helps support the channel. All right, everybody. It's been a blast. See you guys next time. Bye. Boop. And come on. There it is.